Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Tenz, and in today's video I'm going to merge two of my favorite things right now, which is baking and ASMR, and I am going to try to maintain a soft-spoken voice throughout this whole video to add that element of ASMR, and I hope you all enjoy it. This is a little bit different, but as I mentioned, I have been loving baking as an outlet recently, and it's just such a good de-stressor, therapeutic almost, and the process of it all is just really fun, and it's just like a relief. And specifically, I will be baking something vegan, of course, and I have my handy little favorite cookbook with me, the Joyful Cookbook by Ruddy Shetty, which I've mentioned before in previous videos. Specifically going to be attempting to create Ali, which, let me read the description real quick to give you some background and context on this dessert dish. It says, behold your new favorite dessert, an Egyptian bread pudding scented with cinnamon and studded with raisins, walnuts, pistachios, and coconut. And to make it even more luxurious, I've swapped day-old bread out for buttery, flaky vegan croissants, which you can handily buy from the store and pop into the oven before you assemble everything. It's the kind of dish that you want to dive into head first, and I'm not going to be the one to stop you. I am a little nervous because you just never know how these dishes will turn out. This is my third baked goods dessert recipe that I've recreated from this cookbook, and each one just has been better than the last. But it says it takes a total of 35 minutes, and here are the ingredients that I need. 6 plain vegan croissants. Technically there's only 4 vegan croissants in this, but I think it's okay that it's not the exact number. And just fun fact, these croissants are from Whole Foods, and it's one of my favorite things that Whole Foods sells. It's delicious. My favorite thing is dipping this in tea. So yummy, I could eat so many at once. But there are my vegan croissants, and then my mom also has a separate container of normal, regular, non-vegan croissants, and my plan is to do the same thing like with this recipe with these non-vegan croissants, and then put them on like a separate, or put them like in their own corner on the baking dish. And also this recipe calls for non-dairy whipped cream. This is oat-based whipping topping, so don't ever buy whipped cream, so I'm excited to try that out. We also have unsweetened oat milk on the list of ingredients, which is in the fridge. We have brown sugar right over here, and thankfully I didn't have to buy that. I already had it in my cabinets. Cinnamon, ground cinnamon. Unsweetened shredded coconut. Raisins, which green raisins. And then golden raisins. Also walnuts. And pistachios. Alright, that was the walkthrough of everything I need for this recipe. Dang, trying to maintain a soft-spoken voice is actually counterintuitive in the sense that my throat does not feel soft. It feels strained from speaking soft-spoken. Anywho, also my nails, I know, please don't fixate on them, because I put on my press-on nails a couple days ago and they really only stayed intact for 2 days, and then once I start picking at them, they just all start coming off. And because of the material, it's so cheap and so fragile that the moment you start touching them, they start ripping, and then again it's just a vicious cycle. So hence my state of my nails right now. Okay, so let's get into the process. Okay, so again, here's the page. Here's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, it says bake the croissants according to the package, but since I already have ready-made croissants, I don't need to do that. But it says to cut the croissants into 1.5-inch pieces and arrange them in a broiler-proof 9 by 11-inch baking dish. Seems like just a lot of baking terminology and language, but basically in my head that just means cut these croissants, eyeball the size, and place them, arrange them on my pre-existing baking dish. So let's do that. Here's the baking dish, nice and clean and ready for this very occasion. I'm going to first take the vegan croissants and cut them up, I guess. Oh, my green tea I cannot forget about. I think that'll soothe my voice, my throat for sure. They're a pretty solid size too. I'm going to place them on the baking dish. Recycle this. Okay, I'm going to use this knife and cut away at the croissants. Lip gloss break. I've rediscovered my love for the NYX clear, which is actually not so clear anymore because of all my lip products. They're butter gloss, which is in the shade Sugar Glass. I also learned this hack on TikTok. In order to make your lips look poutier and juicier and bigger, you take any clear gloss and you just go towards the edge of your lips and follow those lines, and then voila. Anywho, not the point of the video. Let me show you what I got on my, actually right now it's just a bunch of cut up pieces of croissants, which I'm not sure if they are 1.5 inches like the recipe says, but I'm definitely more of the camp of eyeballing things when it comes to cooking and baking, and just, what's it called? What's the term? Just going with the flow and seeing what happens. Alright, so it says to set them aside. Also, originally I said I was gonna mix in the non-vegan croissants with this batch or on this dish, but one, I don't think there's any room, and two, really no way to differentiate it. It's just gonna get too confusing to figure out like which ones are the vegan ones and which ones aren't. So we're just gonna stick with the vegan croissants. Alright, the next thing to do is I need to, in a medium saucepan, combine the milk, so the unsweetened oat milk, the cream, oat cream, brown sugar and cinnamon. Cook over medium heat, stirring until warmed through and the sugar has dissolved, about 5 minutes. Remove the pan from the heat and set aside. Okay, sounds simple enough. Clearly, I'm nowhere near an expert when it comes to baking. Again, it's a new hobby of mine, so I'm figuring it out as I go along. Bear with me. But okay, let's grab ourselves a medium saucepan. I think this will suffice. All right, my hair. This is not a hair down kind of duty. It needs to be up and away. Okay, so in this pan, combine the milk and the cream. So here's my cream. Let me get the milk. Brown sugar and cinnamon. Cook over medium heat. All right, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, hold on. I don't think this is technically unsweetened oat milk, which is what the recipe calls for, but it's okay. It still does the trick. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna combine the milk, cream, brown sugar, and cinnamon. Cook over medium heat, and then stir it until the sugar has dissolved for about 5 minutes. Remove the pan from the heat and set aside. Okay, so first let me combine everything together. It says to use 3 cups of plain unsweetened oat milk. Honestly, I think I'm gonna need to use a different saucepan. This one might make more sense because it's more hollow and deep. So 3 cups of plain unsweetened oat milk. Let me get a measuring cup. Another indicator that I am such a newbie is that I don't have measuring cups and tools, and so I'm just using this glass cup as a replacement for it. So we shall see what happens. So I'm gonna pour 3 cups of oat milk. One. 2. Oof, I feel like I might be using too much milk. Like, is 1 cup supposed to be 1 full one of this or half? I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to use half a cup of the cream, the oat cream. So, let us pour half of this cream into again, I have no clue if this is half a cup. I'm scared. right. Brown sugar, I'm gonna need to put in 1/4 packed cup of light brown sugar. Okay, and then the cinnamon, just 1 teaspoon. Okay. All right, so my brown sugar, what we're gonna do, okay, I need a spoon. Actually, I have a spoon here. Okay, so here's the spoon, and it says 1/4 packed cup. I have no clue what that means. Okay. But maybe I just need to make it easier. Is this 1/4 cup? Who knows, but I'm gonna add that. All right, and then lastly for this saucepan, I need to add 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Okay, I'm gonna take ground cinnamon, fill this in. Oh god, not me making a mess. Is it possible to not be messy with cinnamon? That is the real question, because I don't think that's a thing. Oh my gosh. I managed to get this much in the spoon, so we're gonna maybe attempt a little bit more. Hopefully the actual baking process, the sounds that come out of it, are somewhat satisfying. Okay. Oh, my bad. All right, so that is done. I'm going to cook over medium. Next step is to, now that I've combined it, cook over the medium heat, stirring until warmed through and the sugar has dissolved for about 5 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the stove to medium heat. I need a stir. Okay, I'm going to use this and mix up my combination. I should set a timer for 5 minutes. Alexa, set a 5-minute alarm.
5-minute alarm set for 9:03 p.m.
I honestly didn't know if Alexa would pick up on my lower, softer voice, but she did, so. I mean, not surprised because Alexa really hears all, which that in itself is a little bit scary. It's okay. Let me show you what I'm working with on the saucepan. This does look really good. For the next step, it looks like I need to preheat the broiler which after doing my research, it said that broiler is an oven essentially. So that definitely eased the confusion, but I'm supposed to preheat the oven on high for 5 minutes. So oh, okay, there's a broil button. I've actually never used that before. I'm going to set it, no, like so. Do I just hold? I don't get it. Okay, so it's on high. Oh, okay, push start. That makes sense. Okay, this all makes a lot of sense to me now. I will check back in once this broil is preheated. While I wait for the broiler to be preheated, the next step I was a bit confused on, but I think I know what it means now, because it says in a medium bowl using a whisk or hand mixer, whip the cream until medium peaks form. When I tell you, I reread that a few times and had to Google to figure out what is a medium peak, how to create it. It's confusing because on the ingredients list it says to get 1 cup of vegan whipping cream, but now I'm realizing whipping cream I think is, oh. Alexa, stop. Good girl. Okay. Now I'm realizing that whipping cream is different from whipped cream. I think that the steps in this recipe is going under the assumption that I'm creating the whipped cream from scratch, but your girl bought whipped cream or whipped topping already. So I think what I'm understanding is I'm supposed to just take this whipped cream, and it doesn't really matter about the medium peak because this is already in the consistency that is needed for this recipe. So I'm just gonna, like, on the last couple steps it says I have to spoon the whipped cream over the croissants and smooth the top. So basically I'm just gonna like spray on the whipped cream from this can and like spoon it over, I guess. So I'm just choosing to interpret it that way. I will say the tricky part about following recipes from a cookbook, I love the old-fashioned feel of it, but for me I think it takes a lot more like focus and rereading and analyzing and just overall focus than following along a TikTok or a video on YouTube that takes you through the recipe. Do I prefer visual learning when it comes to cooking and baking? Yes, I've learned. But luckily most of these recipes that I've tried from this cookbook are really manageable and convenient and beginner friendly, so I feel like just reading it off of the cookbook has been not too tricky or complicated. Okay, so I think my oven is supposed to make a noise or give me some kind of indicator when it's done preheating, and I had set an alarm when I started preheating it, so we shall see. Okay, so now that I have my cut up croissants on the side that I haven't touched for a hot minute, I'm going to sprinkle the coconut, the raisins. I'm going to take a little bit of each type of raisin and both nuts over the croissant pieces. And then okay, but the ingredient list says that for the walnuts and pistachios, I'm supposed to toast it in a dry pan until fragrant. How does one toast on a dry pan? Do I just literally put it on the pan and cook it? I'm so confused. I'm gonna Google that. Okay. So I need to sprinkle these ingredients and the raisins, these ingredients and the nuts over the croissant pieces. And then I have to pour my milk texture that I made earlier, that I showed you guys, and pour that evenly over the croissants. Let's figure this out. Here is approximately half a cup of coconut shred. So just gonna pour it over the croissants as instructed. I mixed the two different raisins in here and going to pour over as instructed. Okay, friends, there was a turn of events and I had to switch my pans or baking dishes, so now the croissant is in the glass dish because I needed to add the milky texture, which I already did, and the original dish that it was on had those holes and like openings on the dish, so obviously that would have made no sense because the milk would have just seeped through the holes, and we don't want that, so I switched it and put it in this glass dish. Also, I realized that this is not broiler safe. None of my baking dishes are, so I am now preheating the oven instead and switching over to good old-fashioned baking in the form of just using the oven and yeah, instead of the broiler. So fingers crossed everything still turns out the way it's supposed to. Both the walnuts and the pistachios have been toasted and added to the baking dish. I'm gonna add the whipped cream and then smooth it over with the spoon. Genuinely have no clue whether I'm doing this right, guys, because I've had to pivot and reroute a couple times throughout this process. Last step, I'm going to top it off with brown sugar. And now we add this to the oven. The Ali Egyptian bread dessert dish is now officially complete. I just took it out of the oven and I put it in there for just 5 minutes like the recipe called for. And I don't know about you, but I'm not sure if it looks exactly like the picture in the cookbook, but it's definitely smelling great and yummy and looks interesting, but also appetizing. Okay, so it's time to taste test my finished product, and can't see if you can really see what it looks like, but it's interesting because there are so many different textures going on this plate. There's my walnut that is essentially half burnt, so that should be an interesting taste. We have pistachios and then the raisins, so let's see how how it turns out. Don't make me choke. I have to take this all out. Okay, this is crunchy. It's really not bad at all. I was almost nervous that it would be overpowerful in terms of sweetness. It's actually the perfect amount. Sweet, but not too sweet. I'm a fan. Right. Well, if you I don't know how many people, I'm sure there is a community of ASMR fans who solely enjoy the sound of chewing food, which I know is actually a pet peeve and fear for many people, but I'm sure there's people who actually love that sound specifically for ASMR. If you do, like, let me know in the comments. I'm not saying I'll do it, but I'm just curious if you're one of those who actually thinks that chewing sounds, like chewing gum for instance, is satisfying to hear in like the ASMR context. But thank you so much for sticking through my bake with me video and watching it till the end. I hope you enjoyed it a lot, and don't forget to show this video some love by liking, commenting, and of course subscribing. And I will be back with a new video really soon. Thanks so much.